Hi, my name is Molly Barham and I'm going into 7th grade.
Hi, my name is Lily Brown and I'm going into 1st grade.
Today we're here at the Edwards Air Force Base and we will be your host today for the Junior Test Pilot School.
Hi, my name is Lily Brown and let's go take a look through the museum. Now this is the TV you have here, and there's some kind of parts of the airplane. Over here, that's what Molly's looking at. All of these are broken parts. Well, those two things are from right there. That place right there, those two things are from that.
There's some really cool things about this museum, like glamorous Lennis. In 1947, with General Truck Yeager, they broke the sound barrier for the first time.
Super cool thing. On that right there, it's Pancho Barnes. These are all the airplanes that I do not know about, but those guys might have flown them. Those are not toys.
I know.
Those are models.
This ball has a model of every single airplane that's ever flown at Edwards Air Force Base. This is NASA's first attempt at the space shuttle. The museum even has the first model of an F-22, the Y-22. Piece of metal you see right here was a section of the left horizontal stabilizer that was torn away at over 4,000 miles per hour. It took the life of Major Michael J. Adams. The big engine you see right here was used to set the world's absolute speed record of Mach 6.30. That's here, you can even sit in a real ejection seat. Hi, I'm Molly, and this is Lieutenant Carl Gutierrez, and we're going to be interviewing today. When did you first get into airplanes? or engineering?
Well, when I grew up in the island of Puerto Rico, and my father-in-law actually he was a helicopter pilot. And when I was 19 years old, I got my first airplane ride, first one, on his airplane, and he actually let me fly it. So from that moment on, I fell in love with aviation, and I knew that engineering will take me closer to aviation. So I decided to study engineering, and eventually I joined the Air Force, and now I work with airplanes every day.
Cool. What subjects did you study in school that may have led you to become a test pilot?
Mathematics and science. And to be honest, those were my favorite. The others were important, but my favorites were always math, algebra, calculus, and physics, and science, and biology, and chemistry. All those were incredible good classes.
My dad says calculus is really hard.
Well, it is, but that's what we studied. A lot of people do study it and pass them, so it's not impossible, right?
Do you have any advice for someone who would want to become an engineer or a test pilot?
Yes, academics is the only thing you can do that will get you there, right? So studying hard in school, from the first time you get mathematics, make sure you understand those concepts and you work hard at it, and it will get you far.
Okay. What's the coolest part about your job?
Oh, that I get to fly with airplanes every day, or I get to enjoy working with people who also like flying airplanes and test them and delivering products to guys who use airplanes. It's just a fascinating field to work at.
Cool. Did you have any obstacles becoming an engineer or test pilot?
Yes, like I mentioned, there's a lot of people who wants to do the same job that I'm doing now, so there's going to be a competition, right? Mm-hmm. So only a few get selected to do it. I was fortunate enough to be selected to do it. So it was tough. You have to compete, you have to study very hard, and you have to work hard towards it.
How do airplanes work?
How do airplanes work? Well, airplanes have to...
Only one airplane.
Only one airplane?
Yeah, I want the one when one of the guys got the sound barrier.
Well, I'm going to tell you a little secret. All airplanes work the same way. They all have to move very fast forward so they can get some air over their wings, and that will create a lift force that will actually make them fly. If the airplane doesn't move, it cannot fly. I don't know how many airplanes I've flown.
Yes.
Okay, so since I started my career, I've flown about 40 different types of aircraft. And that includes aircraft in the Air Force, in the Navy, and civilian, and all those kinds of aircraft. So a lot of them, a lot of very different aircraft. And helicopters too.
But how did you become a test pilot?
By working really, really hard. Okay. And studying and making sure that I study hard and I understood my mathematics and science, which is really what will take you there.
And now we have retired Colonel Thomas, and we'll be interviewing him today. When did you first get into engineering or airplanes?
I got into airplanes very early. In fact, I really can't remember when. When I was little, my mom would take me to Van Nuys Airport, and I would just sit and watch the airplanes fly. I've always loved airplanes, grew up with them flying overhead in the San Fernando Valley, and I just always wanted to fly.
Nice. What subjects did you study in school that may have helped you become a test pilot?
Well, certainly math, so had to concentrate on that, and then so I studied math pretty well in high school, and then when I went into college, I studied engineering there.
What's the coolest part about your job?
Ooh, tough question. The coolest part is really when you accomplish something that's really hard. So you do a test point that's really hard to get, it's demanding, it's tough to do, and what really makes it fun is you're part of a team. It's not just you doing it, there's the control room, there are the engineers who planned the test. It's really a big team, and you get it done, and it's really neat.
Cool. Was there any obstacles becoming an engineer or test pilot?
Well, yeah, to learn engineering, it's a lot of study, so spent a lot of time studying in the books, maybe when other people were off having fun, and as the test pilot, you have to, again, study very hard. The year at test pilot school is quite difficult. And it's just, you have to, I think, have the right mindset to want to know about airplanes and make them better and enjoy that sort of thing.
Do you have any advice for anyone who would want to become an engineer or test pilot?
Well, first off, I would say follow your dream and pursue it. When I was young, I remember seeing commercials and things of showing Air Force airplanes, and I thought that would be really neat. But I thought, hey, I'm just a kid. I'm not going to be able to do those sorts of things. But I stuck at it, and here I am. So I've been doing it for 30 years now. So I would say don't give up on your dreams. Just keep working at it, and believe in yourself that you can get there.
Cool. Yay. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, Molly.
I'd like to introduce Becky Liebman, and we'll be interviewing her today. When did you first get into engineering and airplanes?
Well, airplanes definitely came first. When I was about in 3rd or 4th grade, I went to my first air show. I lived near Selfridge Air National Guard Base, and that was F-16 base. And my parents took me there. So my parents weren't really particularly into airplanes, but my parents took me there, and I got to see the Thunderbirds fly. And I just thought that was the coolest thing in the world. And after that, I was pretty much hooked on airplanes. And I'd wanted to be a pilot, and it kind of, as I got older and started getting more into my math and science classes and doing some things in high school, I kind of focused it a little bit more on engineering. And then I went to school for aerospace engineering because I knew I wanted to work on airplanes, and it was kind of a melding of the two things that I loved.
Hey, what subjects did you study in school to help you become an engineer or test pilot?
Well, in middle school was when we kind of first got the opportunity to take more advanced math and science classes. So in middle school, I kind of got on the advanced math track and taking the harder algebra classes and geometry and things like that. And I stayed on that track through high school, so doing the math and science classes, but also I did robotics in high school, and that was an extracurricular activity. I didn't really have a class for it, but kind of like some kids do sports, and I did some sports, but I also was on the robotics team. And that was really cool because every year we would have 6 weeks to design and build a robot, and that is engineering at its core right there. And now they have programs like that all the way down to, I think, 3rd grade. So that was kind of where I got my first experience, and then when I chose a college, I majored in engineering.
Cool. Do you have any advice for someone who would want to become an engineer?
Definitely. Just to get as much kind of exposure when you're young as possible. So of course doing the math and science classes, but like I said, if there's clubs where you can build something, to me the coolest way to learn about engineering is to actually build something and see how you go from that idea on paper to actually seeing something work. So like the robotics clubs are great, but now there's so many different things you can do, summer camps and space camps, and even going flying to kind of see how the airplane works. It's a cool, really cool way to get into it.
Interesting. Did you have any obstacles becoming an engineer test pilot?
Well, I'm not a test pilot, but the schooling was definitely hard. So there were times in college where maybe I had to spend a little more extra time on homework than hang out with my friends. So that was probably one of the biggest obstacles. The cool thing now, especially being a girl in engineering, there's not a lot of us here, but there's more and more every day. But 40 or 50 years ago, there probably were no girls doing engineering. So that would have been really, really hard. So and there would have been a lot of obstacles. But now it's equal opportunity, and anyone can be an engineer. You just have to work hard.
Cool. What's the coolest part of your job?
Oh, so I've worked for almost 10 years, and I've kind of got to see a lot of different things. Right now I work at the test pilot school, so I get to fly some cool airplanes sometimes. Not every day, because I'm an engineer, so my primary job is doing engineering work, not flying. But so while the flying's great, I really love teaching new test pilots and new flight test engineers. So they're coming from a background where they have never done kind of the engineering side of testing aircraft, so getting to teach them that and see the learning, that's really cool for me.
Thank you for coming.
Oh, you're welcome.
And now we have retired Lieutenant Colonel Greg. We'll be
Hi.
interviewing him today. So when did you first get into engineering and airplanes?
My earliest memory of airplanes was when I was a child on the island of Taiwan, which is right next to China. And I think I was sitting on a porch and the sun flashed. And as I got older, I realized what I'd seen, but the sun flashed. And the sun doesn't normally flash. And then about a second later, this tremendous bang. And I found out later what had happened was an airplane had flown right over our house going supersonic. And when I asked my dad about that, this happened, there's this bang, I think I was 5 years old. He told me what it probably was, and I think from that point on, I was just completely fascinated with airplanes.
Cool. What subjects did you study in school that helped you become a test pilot?
Oddly enough, physics. When I was going to college, I thought I was going to be a computer programmer because I really like programming computers. And then I started doing the classwork, and I realized that I only like programming computers to do stuff I want them to do. So if somebody said, I need you to write a program to do this, I said, oh, that's boring. So I was looking for something to study, and I couldn't figure out what to study, so I chose physics, because physics is essential to all the engineering and most of the sciences. So it's worked pretty good for me because it gave me a good background for learning all the things I need to know about aviation.
Cool. Do you have any advice for someone who would want to become a test pilot?
I do, but it's hard to say. You know, there are not that many test pilots around. I feel I'm here mostly out of luck. There are plenty of people more talented than I am, smarter than I am, but I was lucky enough to be in the right place at the right time that I got to do what I wanted to do. So maybe it's a little bit like being an astronaut, which is even harder to do, but actually a lot of people that are astronauts start as test pilots, right? So I think if I had advice, if you love aviation and you love engineering and you think you'd like to be a test pilot someday, that's good. But if you don't like aviation, you don't like engineering, and you just want to be a test pilot, then you're going to spend a lot of time doing stuff you don't like to do and won't have a great chance of getting to do what you really want to do.
What's the coolest part about your job?
Right now, I teach young test pilots. That my job is to teach people that are just learning how to be test pilots. And I've been doing it for about 11, 12 years now, and I absolutely love it. I love doing the flight test. When I'm doing flight tests, the most exciting thing is learning something new about the airplane. It's the discovery, right? Because here's this machine that's supposed to do certain things, and it never does exactly what you think it's going to. So to go out and fly it and see what it actually does, and then to figure out why it was different than expected is great. Now that I'm a teacher, it's a lot of fun to give people the tools they need to make those same discoveries.
Did you have any obstacles becoming a test pilot?
Wow, obstacles. Oddly enough, the biggest obstacle I faced was I did not think I was good enough to do it. When I was a young pilot in the Air Force, being a test pilot, it was something I always thought I'd like to do. But after a while, I saw test pilots as being these people. You know, there's no way I was ever going to be that good. So I basically decided that, you know, I'm not going to bother go apply to the test pilot school and trying to become a test pilot. Then I got lucky. Like I said, there's a lot of luck involved in being where I am. And a friend of mine who I knew well, and I knew that I was as smart as he was, I was as good a pilot as he was, and he got to go to test pilot school. I was like, hey, if he can go, I can go. So then I applied, and then I got in. I don't know if I would have ever applied if he had not gotten accepted to the school. It's kind of a stupid hurdle. This thing that you can not do something because you're too scared, or you think that you're not good enough for it. But I mean, the worst that could have happened was they could have said, we don't want you, and I would have gone on and had the same life. But instead they said, we'll take you, and here I am.
Cool. Thank you for
It was my pleasure.